Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, all praise, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Arachak, Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations unto the hopeful elect tabernacle of David scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. And before I play this news segment, this is from CNN. I just want to quote Job 20 and 27. And it basically says, the heaven shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him. This group of people, starting with their super rich elite, all right, we're talking about the Zionists, the super rich, the elite banking families, who controls all industries, who funds these wars, who's taking land into their possession, who's coveting fields and taking them by violence. A reckoner is going to eventually come, but right now all your dirt has to be exposed. And that's what, and that's the times that we're coming into. So while the world is actually witnessing this happening in real time, they're coming up with more censorship, attempting to get rid of the freedom of speech. They don't want you to speak the truth. You can't be honest anymore in a public view. Anything you say against them, you're classified as a anti-sim. They could throw the anti-sim card, and it can be followed by different legal actions and penalties. Certain punishments. But you just cannot ignore the elephant in the room. So, like the Lord said, there's nothing secret that shall not be made manifest. All your dirt is going to continue to come out. And you're going to be met with more and more opposition from these other nations. And that's also in the book of Obadiah. You isolating yourself and backing yourself into a corner. So anyway, I'm gonna play this news segment. The International Association of Genocide Scholars. Amalek's actions in Gaza meet legal definition of genocide, which you could have classified that going all the way back since the 60s. All right, when they had that war, and you had Golan Heights, Syria, they've been trying to extend into Syria. All right, they want all the land over there. It's called the Greater Israel Project. That's what this is all about. It has nothing to do with the agendas, the atrocity propaganda that they use to justify their evil endeavors. And the world is starting to see it. So anyway, let's play this, and we'll come back and get a few more precepts.
Well, the world's leading genocide scholars associations say Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza. The group passed the resolution on Sunday, joining a chorus of countries, experts and rights groups who say Israel's actions meet the United Nations definition of genocide. Israel's leaders have denied prior allegations of genocide. More than 63,000 people have been killed in Gaza, and famine is now gripping parts of the enclave due to a partial Israeli blockade. Meantime, a new aid flotilla attempted to set off from Barcelona on Sunday in what organizers say will be the largest attempt yet to break the siege. CNN's Jeremy Diamond.
That flotilla is going to be classified as a Hamas. You know, you doing stuff like that, you're Hamas. You know, if you don't support what they're doing over there, and you know you agree with this, then you're anti-Sem, and you might as well be Hamas. Anything against them and their whole agenda, you're pretty much a terroristic organization, and they can pull that on anybody. You can commit murder and then claim to be victim. That's Cain. That's Cainism. All right. And you know, they had that same attitude of, you know, I could do what I want to do, because if you do something against me, there's going to be ramifications. And when you go back to it, and this was one of Esau's great grandsons, which, like I said, Esau, I meant Cain. All right, which, you know, Esau is the descendant of the same line, the line of Cain, which was the sons of the wicked. You couldn't do nothing against Cain, because there would be vengeance. And I'm gonna go to it real quick. But basically, if anything is done against them, you know, there would be a vengeance taken upon you. All right. This is Genesis 4, and I'm gonna start at verse 14, and it says, "Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth." This is after the Lord pretty much cursed him. All right, because he murdered his brother Abel. It says, "And from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth." Somebody that's constantly on a run for committing a crime. All right. And this is why these devils, they're all over the place, taking everybody's identity. And anywhere they're at, there's nothing but disturbance and war, bloodshed. So they're still in this role, being a damn fugitive and a vagabond, even though the world was given in his hands. It says, "And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me." And hey, that's the growing sentiment among these nations right now. You know, how could we not trust that you'll do what you've been doing throughout history? Destabilizing governments, putting puppet leaders, you know, setting up movements in those towns, funding rebels, so that you can come and slay me and take what I have. You've been doing this all throughout the world. And then put everybody in debt. It says, "And the Lord said unto him, Therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold." You see that? So that's why they have this attitude, this invincible, untouchable attitude. All right, that you do something towards us, man, we can go overboard with it. Because that's what's been happening in Gaza ever since October 7th. And really, you can take it even further and go back to the 1960s. Okay? Or really, even since they came in, going back to 1948. So it says, "Lest any finding him should kill him." And that same sentiment, like when we read in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, these nations eventually, they're going to rise up suddenly, because these devils, they went overboard with the bloodshed. And the scriptures say in Isaiah 26 that the earth shall disclose her blood. Because mainly all you devils and even you other nations, but starting with Esau, you're guilty of shedding the blood of the children of Israel. You know? So the Lord's definitely going to acquire that from you. So so now you got these nations, the UN, they basically saying that, hey, what you doing over there, it's classified as genocide, and they hella late on that. Because it's been going on for years now. They just now wanting to step in. But it's like, okay, so now what? You classify this as an act of genocide. So what now? What are you going to do? You're not going to do nothing. You know? Esau, he's in the cloud somewhere, man. Hey, as he set his nest in the stars. Though he climb up to heaven. He exalt himself as the eagle. You know, he's in his pride right now. You can't really touch him. He has the power. He also lives by that sword. Can't nobody beat him when it comes to the sword. And this is a little small settlement in the Middle East, so-called Middle East, but they're protected. Who are they protected by? The hammer of the earth, where the blood of the children of the saints of the Most High was shed. All right. So let's resume this segment.
Joins us now live from Jerusalem. Jeremy, I want to start off with this flotilla, which we're seeing right now on screen. Could you, all right, actually, I want to talk about what we're hearing about this new allegation of genocide. And I think this is absolutely vital that we...
How is it an allegation? How is blowing little children away? These little toddlers that they finding under rubble, under debris. Them little babies ain't shooting launchers at the IDF. They're not shooting at none of the soldiers. You bombing hospitals, saying that Hamas is hiding up under this hospital or under this school, so we just gonna blow the whole school up or the whole hospital up. That ain't them ain't allegations, man. But you see a lot of the mainstream media, they're under their control. They can't be unbiased, and that's why they've been attacking those journalists. Al Jazeera, they had a whole group of journalists from Al Jazeera that went out there, and they all got smoked. So eventually, these nations, with enough of this action, they're going to start taking action. They're all going to start coming against them. Yeah, if you ain't heard, Turkey, they cutting all ties with Israel. They don't want nothing to do with them. They're closing their ports off, their seaports to them. All right, there will be no commerce. The airspace, we shutting that to you. So it's a no-fly zone. And we'll see how long this lasts. But if he's willing to do all that, he might as well just say, "Hey, y'all an enemy. All right, we ain't got no relations, we ain't got no deals, no ties, no nothing. And if you feel in a certain way, then we can get right to it." And Turkey eventually, because they're on Russia, they still do business with Russia. They're gonna have to basically cut ties with NATO, because it already tells you in the prophecy in Ezekiel the 38th chapter that Gomer, which is Turkey, is gonna be in alliance with Russia. So it's all going to come together, man. All right. But anyway, let's get back to it.
Been hearing that chorus from various organizations saying that Israel is committing genocide. What have you heard?
Yeah, well, if not a consensus, then certainly a growing chorus of voices across the spectrum who are saying that what Israel is carrying out in Gaza is not simply a war, but is also a genocide. This is now coming from the leading association representing genocide scholars around the world, with more than 600 members from multiple countries around the world. And what they have determined in this latest statement is that Israel's actions in Gaza have now, in their view, met the legal definition of genocide as enshrined in the United Nations Convention for the Protection and Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide.
They wait till they get hundreds of thousands of casualties before they even come up with this classify in this definition. You can't make this up, man. It been genocide, man. It been genocide. Once women and children, people, civilians that ain't got nothing to do with anything, once they became targeted casualties, that's what it was. You know? And these devils, they don't care, man. Scriptures say he will not be satisfied with blood. They love blood, man. Let me get let me get Psalms 50. Yeah, Psalms 58 and 1, it says, "Do you indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do you judge uprightly, O sons of men? Yeah, in heart you work wickedness. You weigh the violence of your earth. It's like, yeah, you weigh the violence of your hands in the earth." And yeah, with all that violence, yeah, it's a lot of genocide. You know, it doesn't have to be war. It's genocide through biowarfare. You know, them putting shit in your food and your water supply, putting it in your air that you breathe. That's violence, man. Just trying to depopulate, lower the population of the masses. That's genocide. You know, so people are you know, they're seeing it. And you know, you weigh the violence of their hands in the earth, man, they're guilty as charged. And that's why the judgment is going to be so severe on them. Because the earth is in their hands. So, did I finish this? Yeah, I think I did finish it. This in back in Genesis, you know, dealing with Cain. You know, he's just violent. Death is nothing to him, man. You know, and here it is. You're supposed to suffer punishment for your deed, but then you play victim. Cain, he played victim after the Lord gave him his judgment. All right. And then when you jump down, was it Lamech or was it Tubal Cain? It was Lamech. Yeah, Genesis 4:23 says, "And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, Hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 77-fold." So, this is why to this very day, because it's that same bloodline, the same people, you know, when they want to go and get justice, it'll last for years. Way past getting even. All right? Or they'll wage war on somebody and it's not even justified. But if they want that war, America got to go and you know, be that hammer of the earth. You know? So right now, you know, they're losing a lot of respect, you know, among, you know, these different neighboring countries and nations, even nations that's, you know, neutral, that don't really have you know, issues per se with that regime. But you're going to start to see a growing sentiment, you know, amongst those countries over there. You know, especially them Islamic countries. It's forcing them to grow further in solidarity with one another. You know, to form an alliance to defend themselves. Now, the hell with Islam. We, you know, and the Most High got them over there doing this because ultimately the Lord is lining them up, you know, for that final war. And it tells you that in Joel the 3rd chapter that he's going to turn back the captivity of Judah. You know, you didn't you parted the Lord's land. You scattered His people, and you Ishmaelites. You know, y'all were guilty. You were a part of that. So that's why you're getting your judgment, but ultimately all y'all finna get judged. Joel 3:1 it says, "For behold, in those days and in that time will I bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." And they did that going back to the 40s. And even the UN, who's now trying to, you know, play mediator and, you know, do all this other stuff, they were the ones that came up with that partition act that divided the land of Palestine. Let me see. United Nations Partition Plan for Palestine, all right, which was drafted by the UN, proposed by the United Nations to partition, which means to basically divide mandatory Palestine at the end of the British Mandate. On November 29, 1947, the United Nations General Assembly adopted Resolution 181, also known as the Partition Resolution, that would divide Great Britain's former Palestinian mandate into Amalek and Ishmael states in May of 1948, which neither of them belong there. Or Ishmael, you're down in Arabia. That's your land. All right. Amalek, you know, they got converted into Judaism, of course. They took on our identity. And they used the British forces along with America to be able to win that Second World War, so that they can get in the land of Israel. All right, and they've been there ever since. And then you had a ongoing war between Ishmael and Amalek in there. Okay. And guess what? Neither of them belong there. So that's why the Lord is he's stirring it up. All right. The true people of that land are not in the land. Now some of them are, and even some of them among the small hats and the Palestinians, there might be some of our traces of our people among them. But for the most part, they're mainly heathens. All right, you could read Ezekiel the 36th chapter, where it talks about how Israel would be possessed by the residue of the heathen. And Idumea, well, it's that way to this very day. So let's go back.
They also say that Israel's actions in Gaza constitute war crimes and crimes against humanity, and they are calling on Israel to cease all actions that meet these definitions of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. Of course, before this association of genocide scholars, we had heard individually from a number of genocide scholars, including one Israeli scholar of genocide who wrote a very poignant and impactful op-ed in the New York Times just a couple of months ago. We've also seen two Israeli leading human rights organizations say that they now believe that genocide is indeed being carried out in the Gaza Strip.
So you got division even amongst their own. They're even divided over that. You know, you got those that are protesting this ongoing slaughter, this war, and you know, from their perspective, their government is making things worse for them, because now you know the environment that you're setting by making all these enemies carrying out what you're carrying out it's going to lead to something. You know, they know it. It's going to, and we know what the Bible say. All right, what does it say about the least of the flock drawing them out? They getting into deep shit, and America's definitely going to be dragged into it because they have to. You know, they're being led by, you know, these people, and it's gonna make them desolate. They're gonna get themselves destroyed, and because America got to join and defend your honor, they're gonna end up defending you. You know, so look how the Lord is setting it up.
Now, the Israeli government, for its part, adamantly rejects any notion that it is carrying out a genocide in Gaza, insisting that
of course, Netanyahu, as far as he's concerned, he's carrying out Bible prophecy. He's trying to erase the memory of Amalek. You know, because apparently, according to them, you know, you get in their way, and you know, you got a piece of land that they want, and they want to be able to use it to, you know, control commerce and have trade routes and all kind of stuff like that. As far as they're concerned, you're Amalek, and you in our way. You know, so they're gonna classify you as Hamas and use that as a way to get rid of you. All right. But that guy's a straight up he's a war criminal. You know, he's very bloodthirsty. And the FCC been wanting to get this guy, but they can't get him. And Trump, I'm pretty sure Trump is under his order. So that's why everything, as far as America is concerned, they're willing to help these people out over their own, and everybody over here, everybody's fucking catching it. They hurting over here, and still have to sit back and watch their own government do more for another group of people overseas that really looks down on everybody. You're paying for your tax paying money is paying for their health care, paying for their military complex. And that's why eventually it's going to go down here in Babylon. It's going to cause these people to you know, take it to the streets. It's going to be sedition. And that's how you know, like the scriptures say, when the wicked bear fruit, the people mourn. All right, you're going to have uproars of the people. So let's get a little more of this, and then we'll close out.
of its actions in Gaza are consistent with its military campaign against the militant group Hamas in response for its attack on Israel on October 7th. We do know, of course, that 63,000 plus people have now been killed in Gaza, a majority of whom are women and children, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health there. And as we are seeing this latest declaration, assessment from this group of scholars of genocide in Gaza, we are watching the next phases of this war in the Gaza Strip as Israel is intensifying its attacks on Gaza City ahead of a planned full-scale invasion of that city. Those attacks indeed intensifying both bombardment from the air as well as artillery strikes that have killed 135 people at least since just this past Friday. And once again, among the dead and the injured, we are seeing scenes of children as we do all too often in the past. What we are also seeing, Eleni, are scenes of thousands of people beginning to flee Gaza City. It still represents just a small fraction of that city's population of nearly 1 million people, but it is a harbinger of what is likely to come. As thousands begin to flee now, nearly 1 million people are now at risk of forced displacement, according to the United Nations, and all of this, of course, expected to worsen the humanitarian situation in Gaza, as Israel has now ended the aid drops over Gaza City, as well as those 10 hours per day tactical pauses that were allowing for humanitarian aid to begin to flow into that city. Eleni.
All right, Jeremy Diamond, thank you so much for that update. Well, the Trump administration is crafting a sweeping post-war redevelopment plan for Gaza. This is according to the Washington Post. The goal is to turn Gaza into a trusteeship administered by the United States for at least 10 years, while it's transformed into what's described as a gleaming tourism resort and high-tech manufacturing and technology hub.
Of course, to set up what they trying to set up all around the world. All right, a global technocracy ruled by AI, to have close eyes upon the populations. All right, total control, tyranny, authoritarianism. That's what it's all about. Surveillance systems, surveillance under your skin through implantable devices. Autonomous weapons. Cameras everywhere, high definition. So, yeah, that's what they intended to turn Gaza into. All right, basically another smart city, but it also be a ruling hub for the elite. That's what they want. So this is the reason why ultimately these nations. Let me get that in Habakkuk 2. This is Habakkuk 2. In verse 6, it says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against them, and a taunting proverb against them, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long unto him that ladeth himself with thick clay?" And that thick clay goes into the debt, Ibatya in the Hebrew. All right. This whole monetary system is fraudulent, and have set up banks, and they created a credit-based system where they put everybody in debt as long as they use these banks to loan to everybody. And all it did was just increase their wealth, and thus the godly prospering in the earth, having all that a heart could wish. And they're able to have the money to fund these wars if they want to, take a certain governor out of power, or prime minister, or whoever. You said that you got your own land, you got resources there. You're trying to have a monetary system without the central bank, without having to deal with the petrodollar, the Federal Reserve. You make yourself a target. Remember Gaddafi, remember Saddam Hussein. And now they're going for Maduro. So this is what it is. All right. This devil, his insatiable appetite to increase in wealth and in power is not enough. No matter how much get into his possession, he wants more. And it tells you that in was that Sirach, the 14th chapter, about an envious man and how it dries up his soul. That they don't care. That's why they don't care about bloodshed. And it's their their evil covetousness that sets the tone for that. Sirach 14. Let me see. Sirach 14 and 9, it says, a covetous man's eye is not satisfied with this portion. As a matter of fact, when you read up verse 6, it says, there is none worse than he that envieth himself. And this is a recompense of his wickedness. And if he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly, but at the last he will declare his wickedness. All right, so he has no good intentions by anything that he does, because it's all about gain. It's all about increase. Even if he has to shed blood or defraud people, he's not satisfied with what he has. Remember, when going back to the time of the blessing, where with Isaac blessed Jacob after Jacob supplanted Esau for the birthright, and Esau, it would have went to him, but the Lord had it set up where Jacob was going to get it. So when Esau came in and realized what had happened, he cried. He cried in bitterness to Isaac. Like, hey, my brother got me, man. Can you bless me with something? And he was like, all right. I thought Jacob was you, but here I'll give you a blessing. So he didn't go empty-handed. And this devil act like he forgot that he didn't sell his birthright to Jacob for that pot, that red pottage. Just like Cain, just playing victim when you were the one that was in the wrong. Cain was envious of Abel. Esau was envious of Jacob. So envious people, they're dangerous people. It says, the envious man have a wicked eye. He turneth away his face and despises men. That's why they don't really F with nobody. But they want to basically heap to themselves all nations, though, as long as it benefits them. It says, a covetous man's eye is not satisfied with his portion, and the iniquity of the wicked drive up his soul. So that's why they're heartless. That's why they're they don't have any compassion. They treating everybody else inhumane. They don't want nobody to really have anything. They are entitled. So that's where all this genocide is coming from. You got our possession. You got what I want. So, yeah, man. So going back to Habakkuk 2 and verse 7, and this is where, the earth shall rise up against them, right? Because these nations are growing sick and tired. It says, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them, meaning spoils, because thou hast spoiled many nations. You then took from them, you plundered them. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, basically their genocide of the city and of all that dwell therein. So that's why these nations are going to start, coming against them. Hence, in Obadiah, all right, the first couple verses, how the ambassador would be sent, to the nations to say, rise up against her in battle. And the Lord said that you will become small among the heathen and greatly despised. all because of your evil covetousness. All right. So this is what we're seeing, man. All right. And the Lord's going to disclose that blood, especially when the children of Israel, the true people of the Most High, when they get delivered. Let me go to that. It talks about how they shall no more cover her slain. You know, that you devils, you know, you won't ever have that vantage point over the Lord's people ever again. Because we're getting ready to power up, man. The Lord said, wait ye upon me until I rise up to the prey. You know, Isaiah 26, and I'll start at verse 19, and this is dealing with when the Lord comes back, it's going to be a resurrection, right? It says, thy dead men shall live, together with my dead body shall they arise. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in dust, for thy dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers. Meaning we are going to go up in that cloud, that you know, the fathership, which, you know, NASA been claiming that they've been seeing objects, unidentified objects in the galaxy 7,000 miles long. You know, and we don't know if they capping, if that's some bullshit, or we never know. Could be something for real, or it might be, you know, they running another op on the people. But we understand that the Lord said that there would be fearful sights in the heavens. You know, we're going to see certain things in the heavens. And he said to look up, for your salvation draweth nigh. And we know that the Lord's going to come swiftly on that cloud, man. Which Ezra said, he described it as the Lord riding upon a mountain that was engraved. So he's coming back in a huge flyable object. And he's coming with glory. So when he comes back in that fashion, all the Lord's chosen that died in him, and then those that remain in our life, they're going to enter into the chambers, into the ship, come up hither. It says, and shut thy doors about thee, hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overpast. Because the Lord, he's going to have it out with you nations, and it's definitely going to start with you Edomites. Isaiah 63rd chapter goes into that. And we can't forget about Amalek. It says that the end of them is that they shall perish forever. It says, for behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood. That's why I quoted Job 20 and 27. The heaven shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him. All right. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. And you devils going to get visited, man. You're going to finally drink of that cup when this happens. From Amalek over there in the land, to you Edomites over here in America, you devils over in Europe. So you're not going to go unpunished. All right. And you know, you got Turkey, you know, doing what they're doing right now. Iran, they're making bold declarations and daring you to you know, start up with them again. So we see things turning up, man. But right now, everything is just wars and rumors of wars. And this devil's coming close to his finishing touches on the MOTV system, so that eventually they're going to implement and force the public to have to, you know, take it. When they finally mandate it, because it's already here. Once they finally mandate it, that's when things are going to move fast. And he's gonna go down. So right now they're receiving shameful spewing. All right, there's nothing but straight up genocide, man. And the nations, they ain't supporting it. So there it is, man. So anyway, Lord willing, y'all are edified. I'm going to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh Shem Shai. And until the next lesson, Shalom.